Welcome everyone to Jojo'S Mojo. I am so grateful to have my second guest of my season one with this beautiful Jessilyn Persson. Hi Jessilyn, how are you?
Hi, Joe. I'm great. Thanks for having me on their show.
You are so welcome. I'm really excited to be here. Now, I wanted to ask you where we met, you and I. Let's just start there.
We met through Mupo Entertainment, which I know we're both familiar with. I'm the COO and a co-host with Michelle, and you have your own show, this one, Jojo'S Mojo, and then you also assist us in the office.
That sounds good. You know what? It's a life changer. I really enjoy working with you and Michelle. And it's nice to see the women lead the foe because women are rising every day, accomplishing a lot of things. And you are one of those women. So I'm going to just start by saying that I'm very proud of you and of what you have accomplished. But there's a side of women where we tend to do everything and we don't let other people help and we don't ask for help. So let's start there. At what point in your life where you hit your lowest to low when you were doing everything?
That's a great question, Joe. So I'll just give a little bit of background so people know where I came from. First, so I was raised on a farm with two sisters and my parents, and we didn't have money. So we worked really hard for everything we had, for food on the table, for clothes on us. And I think that's where I can give extreme credit to my parents for the way I was raised and my work ethic, but it also created a work ethic that drove me, which is good and bad. And I say it's good because it's gotten me to where I've gotten, and it's made me continually push. But sometimes I went too far. So when I finished high school, I came to the closest city there was to the farm, which is actually 6 hours away. And I put myself through university and got a Bachelor of Management, which is similar to a business degree. And then from there, I just started working my way into businesses, corporate, small businesses, working my way up. And then I didn't love it. And so I shifted gears into project management. So I became a project manager in IT. And I was extremely successful in that role. I was, leading great teams, making incredible money. The last contract I had in 2019 is when I experienced my low, my bottom. And the reason I say that is because the project I was on, I started out with 8 projects. And to put this into perspective, any good senior project manager can manage 3. And I was too proud to say I couldn't do it. And my ego wouldn't let me. And so I pushed and I pushed. And it just wasn't feasible. No one can do that. Especially, to be clear, I had very few resources. I'm used to having teams of up to 20 people. I had 1 person. Yeah. So you end up doing a lot more as the project manager as well. But I persevered and kept going and got a few off my plate. And I tried, to be fair, I did try pushing back at one point because I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this. But at that point, they weren't willing to take it off my plate. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I started not feeling so well. But I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm exhausted. I'm pushing myself hard. I'm talking like 6-hour work weeks. And to put in perspective, also, I'm married and I have 2 young kids. They're now 8 and almost 6. So back then, a couple of years ago, we're talking like 3 and 5. So very young, much needier than they are as they get older, right? It just is what it is. As a parent, you have to watch them all the time, and you have to be there. And so I kept trying to pursue this, and I got to a point where I was losing weight and I was losing hair, and I knew that was a part of stress for me. And then in October, the contract ended, and that's when I realized how sick I was. So I started experiencing what I now know, and I didn't at the time, is aura migraines. And so what that means is you have throbbing behind the eyes, and I can't be in light. I can't be looking at screens, which is my career. I can't have lights on, and then also noise. I couldn't have any noise. Otherwise, I'd get nauseous and want to throw up. So I was bedridden for almost 2 months. I barely even left my house. And of course, at the time, I didn't know what it was. And so I went to several different specialists. I think I saw at least 3 before one said it was migraines. And of course, I was like, no, it's not. I don't get headaches. Stop. And I didn't. And that's when he explained further what it was. And that's when I went, okay. I pushed myself so hard that my body chose to shut down for me because I wasn't choosing to do it. And in that time frame, I had time to think, obviously, because I wasn't doing anything else. And I did choose to not pick up another contract for the rest of that year. Now, I'm fortunate that I had a good paying job. So I had money aside so I didn't have to work. So I had to really evaluate what was important in my life, what I loved, and what I wanted to do. And, it's not easy, especially when you're used to coming from a place of go, 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 go. And for me to not be able to do anything really also hurt my ego.
Yeah.
Because, my husband, he's like, stop, even because of course I clean the house. I'm the cook. I'm the one who gets the groceries. I'm the one who makes the laundry, sure laundry gets done. I'm the one who manages the children on the back end, like in terms of okay, when the school reaches out, okay, are their school fees paid? Are they booked for their swimming? Are they booked for these events? Are they, and I manage all that, but I had to kind of give it all up. Like I couldn't even be looking at my phone or computer because it hurt so bad. So I had to really come to terms with my ego, to be quite frank. It was my ego.
Yes, definitely. It's very common. I'm in recovery myself, and me personally, I was in bed for 4 months for the same reason. And I just want to make a side comment for those out in the audience that are women that think that they can do everything. You can't. And it is a different type of pride, and it is a different type of ego. Men have it as well. Ours is different. Me personally, I shove, go down into sadness, and then it goes inward. So after that point where you were in bed for about 2 months and you realized that, okay, I have to make a change. What would be the first suggestion you would give a woman when they've reached their bottom, had no energy, their bodies are shutting down? What would be the first tip you would give them to start reevaluating their life and moving forward?
To reflect and trust your gut, trust your instinct, because it tells you. And I never used to. I always put brain over instinct, and it failed me every time.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you. Definitely. That is a really good tip. All right, well, we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to ask more of Jessilyn Persson. Hi, I want to welcome back Jessilyn with me. Yeah, we were talking on the break and it was very insightful. So the next thing I want to do is talk about being in tune with the the messages that are being sent into your intuition that is given to you by birth, given to you by your feminine. And as soon as we as women understand that the happiness doesn't come from outside of us, the happiness comes from inside of us. They say that if whatever's going on the inside is what's going on the outside. And so we got to heal from within. To change from within is a good hashtag. It's mine, which I'm really, really proud of. And from victim to champion, a hashtag victim to champion as well. So we're going to go back to Jessilyn. Hey, welcome back. And I want to ask you, how did it feel for you once you started listening to your intuition?
It felt weird, right? Because I am, like I said, educated, and I have been in corporate. I was in corporate for 20 years. So it's not like I don't have the education and the experience to know better, if that's the right way to say it. So, and I was in a dominantly men, environment in most of my jobs, almost all of them. And men think differently. They think more logically, if you will, as opposed to heart-centered. And so I followed that for years, thinking I had to be logical and I had to be more like men so I fit in and I could do the job and rise like they could. And I did it. And was I successful? Sure. From the outside, people would see I was very successful. But on the inside, and those who know me dearly knew I wasn't being my true self, and I wasn't being the feminine side of me. No, that barely existed. I didn't even talk about that because I was worried. And, when I reflect back on the times I worked, it makes sense when I see how things evolved, because women are very relational. So when I had my project groups, I really got to know my people, and I just really got to know them. And I knew things about them that no one else knew, because I listened very intently, and I genuinely was interested, right? Whereas generally men, it's like, okay, what can you do? What have you done? Where are we at? Which I had to follow as well within reason. But in there, I got to know, whether they had a family, what were their favorite things. And I got to know them on a level so that when I was asking them to achieve certain things in my projects, they didn't even hesitate. And I know there are times where it was short. I would walk up to their desk and I'd be like, what are the odds we could do this by this time? And I would know by their body, how their body was, what I was asking. But you know what? They were honest with me. They'd be like, I will do my best. It may take an extra day, but for you, I will push it through.
Yes.
Right. And that's more relational. And I was of a mindset, and still am, of like, you work for you. So if you're on my team and I ask you to work an evening or a weekend because we're pushing deadlines, I will give you time later. And it doesn't have to be another evening or a weekend. It's like, okay, you worked all weekend. We achieved it. We hit our goals. Take Monday off. I'm not that 9 to 5 mentality. Let's do what we got to do to get it done, and let's celebrate in between the big and the small wins. And so that's not typical at all, I find, in where the world I was in, and also in the masculine type world. And so there were several times where instinctively, I would get a knot in my stomach on some decisions that were made in projects, but I pushed them aside, saying, no, we'll make this work. And they failed. They truly failed. And I kick myself going, oh, you should just listen to your gut. But that's hindsight, right? Like you can't go back and fix it. So now when it happens, as I was learning to listen to it and appreciate it, there were times where I would feel it and I'd be like, no. And then I'd be like, wait. At least hear it out, think it out. What does that mean? And if I pursued the no, it got deeper, and it would almost be a little like a drum beat going, this isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't going to work. And so I really had to come to terms with being okay, accepting that it was my body telling me versus maybe my brain thinking whether it's right or wrong. And again, it has proved me right every time.
That is amazing. I just recently took a mindset course, and we really need to learn as human beings to connect the brain with the heart, because we have to be in what they call alignment. And if we're not in alignment, then things really go wrong. Like people hurt themselves.
Mhm.
They get in car accidents. I've had that happen to me, where if I don't listen, bad things happen. And also what happens with people, they typically will get in the way of their success.
Yes.
Now, there's this thing called limiting beliefs, and a lot of people experience their limited beliefs through paradigms, old paradigms. For example, messages that their mother has sent them through their actions. My mother said that people are monkey see, monkey do, right? Or it's caught, not taught. Now, you're a mother, I'm a mother, and it's important for mothers to understand one thing, that we have to put into practice what we're learning when we change our old thoughts to our newer thoughts, and starting to listen to being in tune, because our children are our future in America and in where you live in Canada and around the world. So we need to stop some of the old behaviors. And so it is very possible. What type of behavior did you notice change from your old Jessilyn to the more present Jessilyn?
I think you really hit it, Joe, when you said limiting beliefs. I had some. I probably had more than some, but it was acknowledging. And so I've been taking different programs as well, different coaching programs. And the biggest one that I can really explain that I saw, now this was several years ago, to be quite honest, probably I think 2018 or so. I took what's called the money clinic, and it was a weekend program on money, and it's on your beliefs around money. And that's where I dug in and rooted in, because I had the extreme poverty mentality. And so what that meant to me was like, I had to work really hard for my money. I had to save everything I had because I couldn't afford the luxury things. I never knew what was going to happen, because I grew up with no money. And I grew up in a family where, the only thing like I ever recall my parents fighting about was money, right? Not being able to afford this or that or whatever it was. And I'm talking simple things like bread and milk. I'm not talking I can't afford to go to a movie. Like, I don't even recall going to a movie as a kid, right? That wasn't a luxury we had. And then I dug in and went, wait, that's not me. That's something I learned. And that's something I inherited. And my mom's still of the same mindset, very poverty mentality. And it's funny, I remember when I was a young teen, I think I was about 13, 14, I watched my parents fight again about money. And I remember telling myself, I will never raise children without money. And I didn't. Like I fought hard and worked hard to make a lot of money. And then I had my kids at a later age. So I had a lifestyle that I could give to them that I didn't have.
Yes.
And so after that money clinic, it shifted, and I shifted into the abundance mentality. And what an incredible difference that is. And that didn't change how much I made or spent necessarily. It changed my perception on money. So I could go out and buy some of the luxury things I wanted, and it didn't matter because I had money saved up. And what was I doing with all that? Right? And when that shifted, it's amazing how you find money. Money is everywhere. And I'm not saying I went on the street and I found, dollar bills, but I'm just saying, like, you start to realize there is an abundance of money, and a lot of people have it. You just got to be open to seeing it and accepting it. And then it starts to come your way.
That makes perfect sense. Very, very, very well said. All right, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll dive more into where Jessilyn is today and help our audience understand you can go from a breakdown to a breakthrough. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Jojo's Mojo. I'm so glad you could join us today. We're back with Jessilyn. All right, Jessilyn, we're going to talk next about how we have a choice. We have a choice about our life, about our choices. When was the first time you decided, you know what? I'm going to not listen to anybody negative. I'm going to do what I need to do to get where I need to get and be happy. Not about money. It's about being happy. At one point, did you feel like, wow, I'm actually happy with the changes I've made?
That's a great question. So to be honest, back in 2015 is when I chose to remove a lot of negativity out of my life. So that's when I quit watching TV. I quit reading newspapers. I quit listening to radio. Anyone that was negative in my life, like if they were, say, a friend or something, I disassociated, like I just stopped hanging out with them. So I did the negativity part that way several years ago now. But with that, what I didn't shift was what makes me happy. Like that made me more positive, for sure. But I was on the track that money would make me happy. And so I drove and drove and drove until I made good money and was miserable.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and so that's when I went, okay, I worked really hard for how many years to get what I thought was going to make me happy, and it's not. What do I do now? And so that comes back to reflecting internally to really figure out what lights me up. And that's not always easy. And so I knew one thing that always lit me up was people. I love people. I've always been around people. I'm the type of personality where I'd rather be with a team than on my own. And I knew like when people would be happy around me, I would be like excited. And, my husband made a really good point when I mentioned that, about a year and a half ago, and he goes, that's great, Jess, but you can't be the source of lighting them up. Like, so if they're happy, it's probably because I told a joke, I brought a gift, I shared something, do you know what I mean? Like I was making them happy. I was lighting them up. Oh, so I need to be like, kind of like the cause. So I need to help them learn how to light themselves up. So if I could give them the tools or the technique or the support they need to find out and figure out what makes them happy, then they can always be happy. They don't need me to be in the room. And so that's when I realized that my purpose, my mission in life is to help people live a life by design. So they choose their future. They choose what it's going to be, what it's going to look like. And it's not preset. And I know a lot of people think that. And women in particular, they have this idea of, I have to be the perfect wife. I have to be the perfect mom and have the perfect home. I got to do this because that's what my mother did. I got to do this because that's what my mother-in-law expects. This is what society does. No, absolutely not. Throw that all out the window. You got to be perfect for you, because when you're happy, everything else falls into place. And that's a hard one to get over, especially like it's been ingrained in us for years as women. Like I'm not even talking about my age. I'm talking about my mom, my grandma. You keep going back, and they just did what they had to do to get it done. And I realized, like, no, I choose what I want in my life, and I choose what I don't want in my life. And the way my future unfolds is because of me. It's no one else. And if it unfolds in a way I don't like, the only one responsible is me.
Right.
And that's what I find a lot of people kind of struggle with, is owning their decision and being okay with the decisions they make. And I know, because I didn't, there's a lot of times I blame others and I didn't take ownership, realizing, well, wait, that was on me. Or when I did make a decision, accepting that it was okay. Because let me tell you, the feeling of being on the fence is not good. The minute you make a decision, you instantly are light. There's like something's lifted off your chest.
Mhm.
But we're so scared to make decisions because we don't want to be wrong.
Mhm.
We don't want people to see that we make mistakes, that we're not perfect.
Yes.
Right? And that was so me. I never made mistakes because I was too scared to take the risks.
Mm.
But now I'm at a point where it's like, no, I got to make mistakes because that's how I learn and that's how I grow.
Mhm.
And you take so many steps to become successful. And along that way, it's not all, rainbows and butterflies. There are dark storms. And if you can overcome them, you're going to be that much stronger.
I agree with you. I was a young kid sitting in a meeting, and the minister, I was raised Christian for 30 years. The minister talked about how you have a tree, right? And the wind comes, so that's the trial. But it also causes the roots to go deeper. It's an automatic reaction in nature for that to happen. If it's healthy. There's also the idea of roses. If we don't deadhead roses in the wintertime, the roses that are dying will get some of the nutrients that the live roses get, and they don't get the full nutrients they need.
Right.
So we have to trim and we have to deadhead our lives with the people that don't fill us up. And it's okay, because we're going to feel that distance from them at first, but then after a while, we're going to feel empowered. We're going to feel whole, and we're going to accomplish a lot of things and feel very proud. And the people that love us around us are very proud for us. And so we want to focus on those people. We want to deadhead our lives, unload the things that don't serve us or don't help us. Now I'm going to transition and ask you, in the present time of today, looking back, are you proud of yourself? Can you see it?
Absolutely. I'm so proud of myself. I've accomplished a lot, and I know that I've accomplished a lot more than general what's expected, but I never accepted that. And so I always felt like I didn't accomplish much. Right. And then when people put it into perspective of what a lot of people accomplish versus what I have, they're like, Jess, you've blown it up. And I'm like, yeah, but what's next? That's okay. But it's accepting how well you've done.
Yes.
And reflecting on the path that took you there, because it's not easy. And I will never say it's easy. And even going forward, as I continue to grow, I know there's going to be bumps in the road, but I'm now more prepared to accept them, get over them, learn from them, and move on. And so then I have a quicker recovery and achieve success in shorter time frames.
Nice. Yeah, you get used to just doing it and knowing that your outcome is going to be good.
Yeah.
Because it's been good before. And that's how we learn. We learn from our history. We're supposed to learn from our history. There's a lot of women that haven't learned from their history. And I think our present generation of women are going to redefine what a true woman is. And you definitely are an example to a lot of women out there. And I'm really excited. So what are your if I were to ask you, what is something you want to do that you haven't done yet in your life?
That's a great question. I'm looking into taking singing lessons. I'm not
that's cool.
to be a singer. And for many years I didn't sing, like even in my own space, because of someone who was close to me who shut me down, right? And I took that personally. And then when I had my second boy, I just, for whatever reason, sang a lot to him, and it always mesmerized him. So like I had the power to stop him from crying just by singing.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, okay, there's something to be said here. There's a power here. And so, of course, over the last year or two, I started singing a lot more, like, well, in my car, and my kids and stuff. But I'd like to go out and just learn it. Not saying I'm going to go out and be a professional singer, not at all. But I think it'll help me also find my voice as I'm out on stages speaking to audiences, and as I'm on, podcasts and Zooms. But I love music. It moves me. And so I would love to be able to sing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that's a great aspiration because I'm in the same boat. It's so interesting. I have been taught that we are the 5 people we hang around.
Yes.
And also, where energy flows, energy goes. There's all sorts of wonderful sayings that, and we can retrain our brain, literally. I've done it. It's not easy, but I've done it and you've done it. And so I just want to thank you so much for being on my show. It has been an amazing, amazing time with you today. And I'm really glad that you're an example and you shared your story so that other women can follow in your path. It's very important. And in order for change to happen, we have to represent that change.
Thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure. And yes, I agree. It is not easy, but anything is possible. And the more women who start setting the example, the more women who will shift and live a life that they love.
I love that. And that's a great place to end. I want to thank Jessilyn Persson for coming on the show with me. And I'm so looking forward to another interview with her, maybe in next season, to see where she's at. Thank you so much, everyone. And tune in to Jojo'S Mojo on Mupo Entertainment, Mupo TV. And I'm really excited about our future. All right. Thank you, Jessilyn.
Thank you.